Okay, hey guys. Just gonna go over a quick overview of the new additions for the backtester and the TBO. There were a couple of requests, so I figure may as well go ahead and do it, and hopefully it'll solve a lot of questions. So the reason behind this, or the idea behind this, was something that our very own Dradian, or Dradian? I don't actually know how to pronounce that, but we're just gonna go with, I guess Dradian, just because that's what I know it as. He can correct me later if it's incorrect. So this is a strategy that he was playing around with, and then approached me about seeing if we could get it added to the backtester to see if it was something that was even worthwhile, and kind of see what the results were and all that good stuff. So yeah, so hats off to him, give him big props, big thumbs up. It's just another tool to use, or another situation that you can kind of play with and see if it does what you want it to for your trading goal. It's entirely up to you. But the idea is whenever there's a volume pump, doesn't matter which way, that you go ahead and just secure your profits, right? So for instance, here's an example down here. If you have your open signal here with the green triangle, the buy, and you have your volume set the way that I have it on this particular example, then you would go ahead and take profits somewhere within this bar. Now that's going to come down to how you have your alert set up, which I'll go over in just a second. But the idea behind it is really simple. It's basically if volume goes over your threshold, which you can see here, and this is actually 72. If it goes over that, it's going to trigger a close signal. That's the idea behind it. So it's purely volume, and it checks to see if you're in a long or in a short. So you can see up here, right here we have this massive whale spike, and you are in a short here. I'm on the 59 minute at the moment, just something I'm kind of playing around with. But here there's a short, so it would have taken profits somewhere within this candle. Now, if you have it set to once per bar close, then it's going to wait and see where the bar closes, and then it's going to fire the signal. If you have it at once per bar, then as soon as that volume hits the threshold, and right now mine's set at 72,000, and it's under the static, so I've got this checked here. Then as soon as the volume hits, then it's going to fire off that signal, and you're going to get a sell order placed. That could go either way, right? So something to keep in mind, this is different than your conditionals up here, for instance, like with the TBO sell, or like the short or something, where you kind of go back and forth, and kind of teeter-totter. And the reason why we have it set to once per bar close, generally speaking, in any kind of indicator alert, is because you have these conditionals that are true at a certain point, but then may change, and it'll kind of go back and forth, and you'll see a symbol. You'll actually see the symbol kind of flicker, kind of go, it'll turn on and turn off, turn on and turn off, and then it's going true, false, true, false. So the once per on close makes it so that if the signal is true on the close of the bar, then it's going to fire. Well, with volume, we don't have that situation, right? It's basically like just a number that if it goes up, it goes up, and then it only goes so far. And so that's really all we care about. So the nice thing about this is you can actually use it on once per bar instead of once per bar close. But I mean, you don't know when that's actually going to hit within this bar here, right? Because there's no way, at least as of this moment, I don't know of a way to track that within TradingView, within the backtester itself. There may be something that I come across later where I can actually apply that, but as of right now, I don't know of a way to incorporate that. So it would be kind of just an unknown, but the cool thing about it would be, let's say that it fires, somewhere around here. Let me do this little drawing here. Boom. So let's say it fires here. That's when the spike happened, or it crosses this threshold down here. And let's say I've got that turned on, or I've got a signal for my bot to turn on to start trailing at 0.5%. So that means it's going to trail until there's that 0.5% threshold. So it would go down. And so as soon as your trailing is hit, so if it's 5%, and for those of you who aren't familiar with how the trailing works on 3 commas, or just in general, usually the way it works is we have a take profit, and that's your threshold. So let's say 1% is your take profit. Boom. So you're waiting for the price to hit this take profit. Now let's say your trailing percent is 1%. So you've got a 1% gap here. Now as the price goes up, your bottom percent here, let me change this to a different color. There we go. So your bottom percent, you got a 1% gap here. So this is your trail. The price is going up here, kind of bouncing around, and then it goes up. This 1% is going to follow it all the way up. So now we've got our 1% mark up here, and then as soon as the price comes down and hits that 1% below, that's when it's going to fire to sell. So likewise down here, if we're now saying, okay, because this volume alert fires, we want our start trailing price to start here, it's going to go down, and then let's say it comes up and then hits the 0.5 mark or whatever you have it set to, boom, it's going to sell right there. So it could go all the way down here and then do another price up here, because all we see here is the close action, right? We don't see any of the movement within back and forth here. So we don't actually know when or where that could fire, but it could have gone all the way down here and then boom, it hits that trailing percent, and then you'll take profit. The other side of this though is it could have hit here and then it hit the volume mark all the way up here, and then it activates your trailing, and then it goes back up like this, and then you would have hit profit up here. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? It could kind of hit anywhere. So you'll just kind of have to play with it and just see if that's something that you're interested in. The other method, if you don't want to use trailing in that aspect, you could basically just do just a simple market close and not have to worry about trailing. You could do that either on once per bar close or once per bar. Again, with once per bar, you don't know where it's going to fire in here, but you know that as soon as it fires, it'll just go ahead and close. And then the last thing you could do is once per bar close, which is what the back tester pretty much has everything on, because a quick note on that, there's been some comments about the on close factor. We're dealing with historical data, so the only data that we have are the open, high, close, and low. Anything between that, we don't know, the back tester doesn't know about. So the only thing that's going to work is on bar close, because you know for sure that anything that happens during the bar close is 100% true if a condition is true, right? So let's just switch over to the back tester here. So for instance here, it knows 100% that this crossed the threshold. It could have happened up here somewhere, but on the bar close, it knows that it crossed that threshold absolutely. So it's going to go ahead and put that fire, that signal fire, to be on bar close. Just like any other signal here, it's going to do it on bar close because it's 100% true at that particular time. So just to clear up any kind of miscommunication or kind of, I don't know, misunderstanding, I guess, on that front. Let's see, let's go into the settings a little bit here, and then I think that'll be pretty much it. So on the back tester here, it's down here at the bottom. Okay, now the way this works is it'll work with pretty much anything here, any of your settings up here. All it does is as soon as the signal fires, it's going to close all deals. Doesn't matter what it is, it's going to go ahead and just close it. You can choose either the static, and static simply means I have 72,000. If I want, or if the volume goes above that number, then I want the alert to fire. You can see here, this is just a horizontal line I've placed here to show an example. You can see all these bars. Every time this bar, the volume bar, goes above 72,000, it would fire the alert on the TBO indicator. Because this is the back tester, it's only going to do it once because there's only one position open at a time. So it's only going to, it's not going to do it every time. So the other method here is using the volume moving average, and then having a multiple of that moving average. So we can come down here and I can turn on the volume moving average and have that set to 20. So now you can actually see our volume moving average. And now I'm going to change this to moving average. Okay, and now you can see that it's going to be working with whatever this average is, so the orange line. So currently all the way over here it's at 15.499 thousand, or K, and it's going to do a multiple of whatever you have it set at. So in this instance the default is 3, so it's just going to be 3 times whatever your moving average is. So it could be, I don't know, let's say if it's at 15, so that would be 45. So if it crosses over 45, then it would fire. So we'll say here, so let's just change this to 45. Okay, and now if it crosses this, then it's gonna signal, do a signal. And you can see here it's a lot more sensitive with this particular setting. So you can make it as sensitive or as less sensitive as you want. I'm going to change it back to static just for simplicity purposes. But, let's say that I've got this set to 20,000 instead. So it's going to be down here somewhere, right? So let's change this. And you don't have to have this up. This is just for display purposes. So you can see how many more bars are going to make that go off. And you can see it reflects that up here. So you're going to see way more closings, way more signals firing, because of the pumps here. So every time that volume bar hits it, it's going to close. So, you're going to have to decide for yourself what you think is too sensitive or what you think is not sensitive enough. So if I change this on the other side and go to like 100,000, right? So now you can see that it could be just enough for what you're looking for. It could be maybe you want it to happen a little bit more, but it just changes. So it's entirely up to you. It's completely open-ended. So this is a decision that you'll have to make. There is no wrong answer. There is no, maybe I put in the wrong number. You're gonna have to just look, see what's happening. I mean, the labels are here. So just see how often it fires and take a look at the stats, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have to make a decision for yourself of, okay, do I need to change this? Is this good for what I'm looking for my trading strategy? All that kind of stuff. It's not something that I'm going to be able to comment on, or any of the coaches or anything. It's entirely your personal decision. Let's see here. Let's go through an alert process, and I think then that will be pretty much it. So I'm going to turn you off. Okay, and so the alert process is pretty simple. You go up here and do it just like you normally would. and we have the MA long pump, MA short pump, so that's your moving average, and then we have our static long and our static short. So the way the alert works is you want the volume to, whenever there's a volume pump, you want it to close whatever deal you have open. So all you're going to do is match whatever position that you have. What I mean by that is I am going to have an alert for my buy signal to be with the green triangle here, okay, and now I want my volume pump to close that green triangle signal. So what I'm going to do is come up here to my alert, and I already have my green triangle signal already set up here. Yeah, I've already got it turned on here. So all I'm going to do is set up my close alert here. So I've got my TBO, and I'm using static in this example, and I'm going in a long position here, right? So I want to close that long position with the static long pump. So whenever there's a pump going up or something like that, I want to close that long. Okay, so we're going to do that. And again, you're going to have to sit here and choose whatever, if you want the once per bar, if you want to do, you know, somewhere within the bar. Sometimes you'll be able to catch maybe the you know, really far down here if you're lucky, or may not be so lucky with the candle and it'll be up here somewhere. It's entirely, you know, who knows. But you could also use trailing with it, and then you'll get to kind of, you may even get even luckier, right? You know, it could come out here, it could fire, but then you catch that extra little trailing drag. But also likewise, maybe it catches up here, but because of trailing activated, it goes down and then goes up, so maybe you get a little extra out of it. It's going to vary. I can't say for that one, unfortunately. I don't have the data to show that. But if you just want it to fire on bar close no matter what, and you're just like, alright, volume hits, boom, let's get out, then just do once on bar close and just do a close order. So you'll put your 3 commas JSON object down here for your alert. So for instance, if you have a long bot going, you're going to go to that long bot, you're going to get the appropriate alert for whatever your strategy calls for, whatever you're trying to do. You paste that in here, you hit create, and then boom, you're good to go. And then likewise, if you have a short bot, you want to come up here, go to the static short pump, put in your short object, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a lot to it aside from just deciding what it is that you want to do, what your goal is, your strategy is, you know, come up with a plan, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I think that pretty much solves the mystery behind this, I hope, at least. You know, if you have any questions or anything, just put it in Discord. I'll answer them as soon as I come across them. I would ask though that please be specific with your questions. A lot of times people, and this is just coming from a technical background where, you know, I spend many hours a day coding and troubleshooting, and the only way I know how to troubleshoot and code and, you know, kind of figure things out is simply because I have the details of like, okay, well, this isn't working, but why? What parts of this are not working? And if I know that, then I know more data and more details about how to fix that and how to solve that particular problem. So if somebody comes in and just asks, hey, this isn't working, why? Oh, well, I have no idea. What did you do? What was your action? Did you do something beforehand? Did you put an edit somewhere? Did you change something? What did you do to lead me to this error or your error? How, you know, I'm unfortunately I'm not a mind reader, so I don't know what you did prior, so I don't know how to fix your problem. Now, sometimes there are certain things that where people they've just been doing over and over and over continuously. It's just a common error where I know off the top of my head of like, okay, that's obviously XYZ. But if you just come in and just say, hey, this stop loss isn't working, or this take profit isn't working, you know, what's going on? I have no idea. Like, I need to know more background detail. I need to know as much detail as possible when you're asking to say, like, a good example would be like, hey, I set this up, I did XYZ, I set my take profit percent for here. I put my buy for here. You know, I put these kinds of X and this whatever. I don't know. Like it could be an open topic, whatever. But I think my point is clear that the more information is better, because it will help me kind of navigate the waters of where I need to look to kind of get the answer that you're looking for. Otherwise, it's just kind of it could be anywhere, and I'm just gonna say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, give me some more information because I can't help you. So, not trying to be, you know, I don't want to be rude or anything like that, but unfortunately my nature is I'm very blunt as is. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. I'm basically just gonna say, you know, sorry, like I don't know what you're talking about. Mainly because I want people to be involved in kind of doing the work themselves and everything like that. So, and unfortunately, there's a habit of people that come in and they'll just fire off a question and expect people to do work for them, and you know, kind of just sit there and get the answer without actually putting in any work. They'll just be like, hey, I have this problem. I haven't actually done anything to try and solve it, but here, you go figure it out. Which is a huge pet peeve of mine. And not to say that you guys do it, you know, or you're going to do it, but it's something that I don't enjoy, because it just shows a lack of, you know, effort. And why should I bother doing the effort for you if you're not even going to do it for yourself, right? So, but anyways, enough on that front. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the Discord channels. Yeah, all right. Have a good one.